It's that time of year or weekend. This week in Destiny, this week in Bungie, whatever you want to call it, is back. I wanted to cover this one for a few reasons. One, we get to find out about the Festival of the Lost Winners. We also have some sandbox updates coming that I want to talk about, just a brief little bit. And then we also get to know more about the new dungeon that's coming out next month. We're not going to go into the entire Bungie post today. It was pretty long. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to see it yourself. But I thought this was interesting enough that I wanted to give my pointers and my thoughts on it. The first thing I wanted to really look at is the new dungeon coming on February 7th. Call it Sundered Doctrine, which is an interesting name for it. I wonder if that means Doctrine of Passing is coming back. I wanted to read this and then talk a little bit about it because I will be doing the dungeon race as we always do. Dungeons are my second favorite activity in this game next to raid days, so it should be really exciting. Heresy is right around the corner, and with it comes the launch of a new dungeon. On Friday, February 7th, travel to Savathun's throne world and infiltrate Rogue's pyramid ship in the new dungeon. Now that's interesting because Rogue's pyramid ship is also where Vow of the Disciple is. So the fact that we're going back there now is interesting, especially with this being a part of the Hive season. I wonder what reason we have to go back there. I'm not too sure of a reason. Obviously we'll know more about it. But with the last dungeon, Vesper's Host, we went back to Europa, but we didn't technically go back to Deepstone Crypt. Not exactly, but we went to the same planet. This time we're going what appears to be right back to Vow of the Disciple. So I wonder if that means we'll have some kind of similar mechanics to Vow, or maybe something brand new. Either way, I'll be there. It's going to be interesting. I'm sure they'll be putting out some, emblems and stuff. So obviously, if you want to, earn some of those emblems in game, you can come to the stream and watch. Another note is that they'll be doing the 48-hour contest mode as well as they always do. I'll be doing my stream for the race, but after I complete it with my team, I'll be staying on and be doing helps for other people to get their 48-hour contest mode emblem completions as well. I'm not too sure if I'm gonna do the full 48 hours, but I'm gonna go for as long as I can to help as many people as I can get that emblem. The next thing I want to look at is Heresy is getting an update and a new few abilities. I was recently on a podcast where we talked about the difference in like prismatic ability updates and the more traditional subclass updates, and I was kind of interested in what route they were going to go, whether they're going to update prismatic or whether they're going to update the normal subclasses, the 3.0 subclasses. And it appears based off of this, they're doing some tuning to the entire suite of exotics and class items and all the stuff that we have, but they're focusing a lot on the ability. They're also focusing mainly what it appears to be on arc, giving arc a new verb called Bolt Charge. We're also getting 3 new aspects, and then obviously Heresy ability Balance Pass. We've had time to sit with the arc subclasses for some time now, and wanted to address a systemic need they had with the reduced number of buffs the damage type has versus others. We wanted to use the space to add something that brought arc a powerful damage tool, which we felt was missing. However, Bolt Charge is a little different mechanically than our previous ones. Bolt Charge is a positive stacking buff that you build up on yourself over time. Once you reach max damage, your next ability attack will unleash a devastating bolt of arc lightning. While you have 1 or more stacks from any source, aspects, fragments, weapon perks, etc., dealing damage with any weapon increases your Bolt Charge stack count. Each time a stack is gained, you gain a chunk of melee energy. At 10 stacks, your Bolt Charge is ready, and any ability damage, arc or otherwise, summons a powerful arc bolt, dealing roughly the same amount of damage as a solar ignition with a smaller area of effect. Different from ignition though, Bolt Charge is tuned to have more consistent and predictable uptime. So you're going to be just playing, activating abilities and stuff, and you're going to get a stack. The more things you do, the faster it stacks up. Once it gets to 10 stacks, it's going to create a big chunk of lightning, kind of like Thunderlord, I'm assuming, and deal a big chunk of damage. On paper, seems interesting. In context, I'm less optimistic that this is going to be equally as powerful as something like Ignitions. I could be wrong in a couple weeks though. Similarly to the addition of Frost Armor to Stasis with the release of Final Shape, we have woven Bolt Charge into Arc and Prismatic suites to allow those subclasses to access this new keyword. The new Arc aspects for Striker Titan and Stormcaller Warlock also feature Bolt Charge. Please refer to the Balance Pass section below for the full details. Arc has been needing a lot of help for a while. It's probably the least used class, maybe outside of Arc Hunter. And even then, most people use Arc Hunter with Prismatic now. So any help that Arc can get is a dub in my book. However, I don't know if this is that dub. Either way, at least we're getting new stuff to the class. Let me know what you think about this. Hopefully, the community likes this. Then we have the subclasses that are getting aspects, and obviously Hunter, they're getting something Void. And obviously there's gonna be something tied into being invisible, which, obviously is something you always wanna do in your gameplay loop as a Void Hunter. This is something called On the Prowl. Entering invisibility marks a nearby enemy as a priority target for you and your team. Note, this does not enable players to see marked targets through walls in Crucible. Defeating priority targets creates a weakening cloud of smoke that makes you and allies invisible when passing through it. When priority targets are defeated, you and nearby allies gain increased weapon reload speed and stability for a short duration and are granted grenade, melee, and class ability energy. They have a video right here, obviously, so we gotta look and see. It goes invisible, then you see the On the Prowl. Also, you see a little section of the guy getting marked. Then you have Successful Hunt, Void Invisibility. And it's obviously you can reapply it over and over, as long as one of the people in your fire team are invisible. But what's also interesting is once you go invisible, that party is marked and anybody can get the kill. The person in the front got the kill, and it still triggered the cloud of smoke. So as long as you have a hunter that has a lot of ways of going invisible, you could kind of chain this over and over and over. And I'm already thinking of pairing it with things like Gerfalcon's Haberk and some other exotics. And even if you do it on Prismatic, if they let you use it on Prismatic, probably not, probably busted on Prismatic, but on normal Night Stalker, this is probably going to be an instant use for me. I would probably, it doesn't seem to be on Prismatic from what I can read. Yeah, this is specifically for Night Stalker. Yeah, okay, so this is probably going to be a guarantee you want to use if you want to chain things. This is probably better solo, but in a fire team, it's also going to be really good, especially if you have a team of obviously hunters all being invisible. I'm not too sure about which of the two you would take off. Obviously, you would want Styles Executioner because that's going to give you multiple ways of going invisible. I'd probably keep Styles Executioner and Vanishing Step because I like to double dodge for invisibility. So all that together is just more ways of going invisible. I could also see this being pretty beneficial on a solo Void Hunter as well. Next up, they are doing something for Arc Titans. This seems so much so far to be about Arc, and then they didn't do anything for Arc Hunters. They gave them something for Void, and I'm curious why. Obviously, Arc Hunter is one of the few that is still the most used, with Gathering Storm and the Arc Staff. But I guess they figured that they don't need anything for that one, so they gave it, Void Hunter. Titans are getting something for Arc though. They say, Strikers, you're up. Storm's Keep is a new class ability focused aspect for Arc Titans that utilizes bolt charges to its full potential. Storm's Keep. Cast your class ability to grant a moderate number of bolt charge stacks to you and nearby allies. While behind your barricade, you and allies gain stacks of bolt charge over time, and any weapon damage will discharge max stacks of bolt charge. We wanted to do a few things with this aspect for strikers. We wanted to create an opportunity for barricade to be used offensively, and we wanted to capitalize on what bolt charge can provide. We envision strikers pushing forward on the battlefield and use their class abilities to cement themselves at the tip of the spear in a fire team. There's a few issues I have with this. This playstyle, and we're gonna watch it, but I always have to mention this. The problem with barricade is that it creates a static playstyle, and especially with how much movement is required in Destiny and how much movement is required in just where you're probably going to use this in dungeons, strikes, raids. Most of the time, using a barricade is a defensive choice to just block incoming damage. It's not meant to place down a fort and then just tank. I know that's what they're going for, but the problem with that is the barricade doesn't last long enough. And it doesn't, I know it does like this whole taunt thing. I know it does like, damage resistance and splash resistance, but what you're using barricade normally for is to block some damage just to live for a little bit longer. And most of the time people are using tower and barricade, not rally barricade. We'll use tower and barricade so we stop all incoming damage for a few seconds, or block a hallway or something. No one really uses barricade. I'm not gonna say no one, because obviously there's someone who just loves a barricade. No one's using barricade to tank. No one's really using barricade to just stand behind for a significant amount of time, because of the way the sandbox is, because there's a lot of structures around. You can't just stay in one place and just be there forever and be a tank. If you could, barricade would be really, really good. And I would love to see a change in that, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Obviously there's probably people that will like this, barricade change, or I guess update with bolt charge. The only time I can see this being maybe beneficial is just during a raid or dungeon DPS scenario, just for a little bit more damage. But I'm not crazy about this one. So obviously we use his 2 arms to create his barricade. I'm not too sure if that's how you do it now, but he uses 2 arms to create the barricade. And then you see on the side he has bolt charge. And then, oh, can I see that? How much damage is that? Does about 20,000. Yeah, about 20,000 damage from the bolt charge. Right there. It's about 20,000 from a single bolt charge. Because you can probably keep changing it over and over. If there's not a lockout on the cooldown, and since everybody can do it, I guess it's free damage. But they go into a little bit more detail. Casting thruster or barricade will give you and nearby allies a good chunk of bolt charge stacks and the melee energy that comes along with bolt charge. If you opt for the barricade version, standing behind the barricade will grant additional bolt charge stacks over time. Once you're at full stacks, any weapon damage you deal while standing behind your barricade will also cash in bolt charge, calling down a lightning bolt at your target's location. Standard bolt charge allows you to call down lightning by dealing ability damage, but with Storm's Keep, you can call down lightning just by shooting enemies while behind your barricade. This is especially potent with Rally Barricade, as it allows multiple bolts from you and your allies to provide solid boss damage. There you go. That answers my question. This is probably only going to be beneficial if you're going and teaming up with a damage scenario happening. And the only problem with that, I don't know if people are going to be using base arc for this, since you have to use base arc, unless I guess you're using Thunder Crash. But this is the weakest one so far. Obviously the Void one seems out the box way better. This one could be beneficial. I can instantly see 3 bait and switch, 6 bait and switch GLs on a boss all of a sudden being even better, because you're doing 20,000 per person, 6 times or 3 times, and then every time that goes off, it restarts the stacks instantly. So it's almost like just free damage just for being on a barricade. I'm glad that Arc Titan is getting some more love in practice. Gotta wait and see how it turns out in game. Now, if the new dungeon comes out and there's some reason that we need to stand behind a barricade, or it's beneficial to stand behind a barricade, then dope. I can see it being useful in a situation like Vesper's Host, where, you know, you need to stand behind or like somewhere to like get a little bit more DR, and then you can put out some more damage. Gotta wait and see though. But hey, for my Thruster Titans and my Barricade Titans, let me know how you think about this. Finally, we have Warlocks, Stormcaller Warlock specifically, getting Ionic Sentry. We're just going to come out and say it. Everyone loves buddies. And Arxo was begging us for a sibling. Behold, we found one in Ionic Sentry. Now, hold on. Hear me out. If you're a Warlock main, are you tired of your entire personality being buddies? You know, that seems to be the only thing that they can really push for is, let's give you another buddy, but in this color. Let's give you another buddy in this color. That's what it seems to me that they really want to push towards. Ionic Sentry. Defeat targets with arc abilities or weapons to charge up Ionic Sentry. Activate grenade, deploy a powerful arc turret which blinds on impact and sends out bolts of lightning that chain to nearby enemies and grants stacks of bolt charge when it defeats enemies. We're gonna watch it first. So he has Ionic Sentry ready. Instantly, I'm not as enjoyable as the other two, as that one has a Sentry cooldown. I know what they want to like stop, but like the cooldowns instantly make it not as power fantasy, because if you're gonna give us buddies, allow us to summon a lot of buddies if we can really build into it. Now obviously the cooldown's probably just 5 seconds, but if I'm in a scenario where I can somehow chain grenades or turrets, let the player. Stormcallers are masterful at channeling arc energy, reshaping and deploying it to cause mayhem on the battlefield. With the Ionic Sentry, Stormcallers have harnessed arc energy and coalesced it to a perfect orb of hurricane and harmony. Once it's charged up through arc abilities and weapon kills, you gain access to Ionic Sentry as a special grenade throw, similar to how Gunpowder Gamble works for gunslingers. When it first lands on the battlefield, Ionic Sentry will blind any nearby enemies and begin to chain lightning between enemies, dealing damage. When Ionic Sentry defeats any target, you will gain a stack of bolt charge, making it a great way to build up bolt charge stacks quickly. If you're a Stormcaller main, let me know what you think about it. I don't know if this is going to be out the gate really good. These arc ones seem pretty whelming, but maybe there's some new things coming, maybe from the artifact that will amplify this up a little bit more. There's a big suite of changes coming to Heresy, and I don't really want to go into detail about all this. If you want to read all through them, feel free to read the link in the description of this full posting. They do talk about adding this whole arc and void aspects to a lot of different stuff. They also make a lot of nerfs and a lot of changes. Obviously, the one that has made people the most upset is Consecration getting nerfed, but at the same time, are you surprised? Unfortunately, it wasn't nerfed the way I think they should have nerfed it, but that is for a different video. What I wanted to focus on is this. Past's Prologue starts next week. As we enjoy the final weeks of Revenant, we have one final celebration. It's a prologue of sorts, leading into Heresy, where we get a chance to see what life is in the universe like when there aren't any gods around us to slay. Xivu or wrath anyone. This time we spend a few quiet moments with Eris and the Drifter, remembering how far we've come and answering the age-old questions. Can pineapples bloom on the battlefield? If you played Riven's Wishes last year, the flow of the event will feel similar. Starting on January 21st, you can visit Drifter to pick up quests that will reward a special currency called Bento tokens. These tokens can be exchanged for some, if we do say so ourselves, pretty snazzy rewards over at Eris. Throughout the event, you'll have a chance to earn a total of 8 bento boxes, so spend wisely and make them count. Now let's check out what you'll be spending them on. First issue I have with this, as always, why is there a cap on 8 unless you're like, maybe on a week? I didn't do Riven's Wishes last year, so this might be ignorance on my end, but this celebration, honestly, if you have a cap like this, is instantly making it where players aren't going to play after they get that 8, or if they get the couple awards they want. If there was a way to play an unlimited, maybe, but obviously that's not the case. Now, based off of this, obviously the big talking point is that doing these will let you get some pretty cool weapons, and you're gonna get probably the thing that's most important to a lot of players is the new shader, and that's the big super popular shader from way back in the day from Destiny 1. Earlier this year we got Super Black. Now we're getting Chatter White, which is basically the same as Super Black except the white version. There's some currencies we can get, and you're gonna get like that amount, and it's gonna cost a token, those bento tokens. You can get 2 ascended alloys for 1 token, 2 shards for 1 token, 1 cipher exotic for 1 token, and what seems to be only a max of 25 spoils of conquest for 1 token, but you can only get 75, which is interesting because I can only get 8 tokens anyway. So why can't I just spend all of my tokens on spoils of conquest? I wonder why. They always make these caps and they always do it for a reason, but I'm wondering why. There's a lot of mementos, so we can get the Gambit memento, Vanguard memento, Iron Banner, Festival of the Lost, Dawning, Guardian Games, and Solstice. So if you're missing any of those mementos, I know I am because I didn't really play with Solstice, you can get them now. So there you go. You can get exotics and adept weapons. You can get Cloud Strike for 3 tokens. Who doesn't have Cloud Strike in this game? Like, seriously, why couldn't that have just been tied to like a raid exotic instead? 3 tokens as well, since you can only get 8. You have 8 tokens, and you're gonna have to pick and choose what you want. These are very, very valuable tokens since you only get 8. If you could like get infinite amount of them just for playing, maybe, but 3 tokens for an exotic and it is Cloud Strike? I don't know about that. Cataphract Adept. You can get Linear Compensator, Alloy Cases, Envious Assassin, and Bait and Switch with a Velocity Masterwork. This is worth getting if you don't have a good GL. I know they have the dungeon one, but at least this one being Adept allows you to put Adept Mag on it. So that also is really, really nice. I know like Adept Mag and Envious Assassin probably don't work as well as they used to. This is still worth getting, especially for like strand builds. Igneous Hammer with the Range Masterwork, Fragile Focus, Precision Instrument, Fluted Barrel Flare, and Magwell. For PvP, this seems pretty good. If you're a PvPer, let me know if this is worth, a player like me going and getting. Horror's Lease, Perpetual Motion, Kill Clip, Stability Masterwork, Arrowhead Break, Acrobatics Rounds. Another really strong PvP weapon. I don't know if it is right now, but this is worth getting. Riptide. Well, I guess Riptide is technically Crucible. Arrowhead Break, Enhanced Battery, Compulsive Reloader, Chill Clip, Charge Time, Masterwork. I guess if you want to build into like the whole Chill Clip always active thing, Compulsive Reloader is really good with synergy. I would have preferred Left and Gold, but this is not a bad roll at all. And then Artifice Armor with a high stat roll, 2 tokens for 1. Again, the exotic is 3 tokens. We only have 8. As far as I can read, we only have 8 total. Are you going to spend 2 on a randomly rolled high stat armor? Now, if I could pick exactly the stats I wanted, it's a different story. You could spend all 8 of your tokens on Hunter Artifice Armor and they could all be in the wrong slots. I know you can like do some things to make it a little bit better, but like this is random. I don't know if I'd waste my armor tokens on it. Obviously, in order to get Shadow White to make it even sweeter, once you turn in 5, you'll gain access to something precious and pale as the moon. That's right, Shadow White is coming back as a reward for participating in this event. The Pass is Prologue event will only be around for 2 weeks, so don't waste any time and make sure you spend all your bento tokens before the start of Heresy. 2 weeks is not a lot of time. And, you know, depending on what this all is wanting you to do to get 8 tokens, you're probably best to just play through and get 8 tokens. My one worry is that they're going to make it incredibly difficult to get a token, or very monotonous just to increase player time. But if you want Shadow White, you got to at least turn in 5 tokens. I'll make sure I do that just to get my Shadow White. And if I had to pick the things to go after, it'd be any ciphers. Probably best to get ciphers out the gate done. Get your ciphers maxed out. Go ahead and get, I'd probably get Cataphract if you don't have that. Cataphract if you don't have that. Any missing mementos. And then probably Spoil of Conquest or ciphers. Any mixture of that is probably your best straightforward choice if you just don't want to think about it. Get the missing mementos you don't have. Get Cataphract. And then just waste them on currencies. Any currencies you're low on. Finally, I made the video last week. We had Festival of Lost Armor. And I'm not surprised at the winners, but I am surprised at the percentages. Titans, obviously Jason, you know, that's just super easy. I think someone in my comments last week told me that the Titan one was Black Phone, and I was like, yes, that's it. But obviously Black Phone was really only worth it for me for the mask. Titan is as well, not mad at that. They won by 53%. So congrats to my Titans who really wanted Jason. Obviously they say we're gonna get the other set soon. Doesn't mean how soon after Festival of the Lost. But Titans, you got your set. Hope you are happy about this. Now, Hunters, I kind of expected the other one to win, the slasher one. But Spectres won. I think it's probably because of just the concept art. Concept art looks just really cool and unique. Reminds me of the Throne World. So it makes sense that it won. This is what I voted for Hunters. So I'm, you know, happy that we, you know, won that. I also really like the boots. They remind me a lot of King Saul for some reason. But hey, you know, good choice, y'all. And finally, which was resounding, was Warlock Spectre. Now, I'm not mad at 73%. But I'm not sure how it's going to translate in game. Like I said last week, this could be really, really cool in game. But if it doesn't, you know, have all this moving stuff, and if, like, you know, it could just look not that good. I'm not saying that it's not gonna look great, but this is one of those votes that I think people picked based off of what they hope it's gonna look like. And if hope's all you got, hey, 73%, obviously most people wanted that. I really wanted the Scarecrow because I felt like that would translate. Out of the two, I think the concept art translates better into the game with Scarecrow than Spectre, which is why I voted for Scarecrow. But at the same time, if they could make this as outlandish as possible, if everything moved, if that moved, if all the arms were constantly moving, granted, that's probably really hard to develop. And I hope it's not static. Or like, I hope it's not static and like just the ends of it just twitch a little bit. But 73% said yes. So hopefully it turns out really good for y'all. And you know, I didn't think it was gonna be that high, but hey, there you go. Long, pretty dense twab, whatever you want to call it. As the main things though, Heresy is going to be really, really interesting. With just the overall sentiment around the game right now, I'm really hoping that Heresy is a knock out of the park. You know, community could really use a win. But until we get all that content, it should be really interesting trying out this whole bento box farming thing next week. If you are one of the people who voted correctly and your stuff won, let me know in the comments. Hopefully, you know, all this turns out really well for Heresy. I'm excited for the dungeon. I'm excited to do some more content with dungeons as well. And as always, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.